In this lesson, we are going to write the code to display the user's to-do items on the to-do page. So we'll start by writing the code to retrieve all the to-do items that belong to the currently logged in user, and then we'll display all those to-do items in a nice list on the to-do page. We'll conclude this lesson by making the list slidable so that a button is revealed when the list items are slid towards the left. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code and we'll start writing the code inside the ToDos page. And I'll open up the todos.page.ts file. In this file, we'll write the code to retrieve all the documents from the ToDos collection where the owner property matches the ID of the currently logged in user. So we'll start by importing Firebase. And once we have imported Firebase, we need to create a new function to get all the documents from the ToDos collection. So here, just after my ng-on-init function, I'll create a function called getToDos, and this function will use the Firestore SDK to get all the documents from the ToDos collection. And we'll be using the where method to filter the documents based on the ID of the currently logged in user. So here, I'll start by typing in firebase.firestore.collection, which takes in the name of the collection, which is ToDos, but we also need to use the where method because we want to filter the documents. So just before executing the get function, I'll execute the where function. And as we know, the where function takes in 3 different arguments. The first argument is the name of the field, which is owner in our case. The second argument will be the equality operator because we want to make sure that the ID of the currently logged in user matches exactly with the owner property in the documents. Finally, we'll need to pass in the ID of the currently logged in user. To do that, I'll create a property inside the class and let's call it user ID, which will be of the type string, and inside the constructor we'll assign value to the user ID property. So I'll just go ahead and type in this.userid equals firebase.auth.currentuser.uid. This code will be executed as soon as the page loads up and will assign the value of the current user's UID to the user ID property. And we can use this user ID property inside our where method. So here I'll just go ahead and type in user ID. Now you can go ahead and use the get function, but because I want my application to be real time, and that means that I want the application to reflect newly added to-dos as soon as they are added by the user. So instead of using the get function here, I'll instead use the onSnapshot function. And the onSnapshot function also returns a query snapshot. I'll also need to create an array, let's call it to-dos, and this will be of the type any. I'll also assign a default value to the to-dos array, which will be a blank array. Finally, inside the onSnapshot function, I'll assign value to the to-dos array. So I'll just go ahead and type in this.todos is equal to query snapshot.docs. And docs here, as we know, is an array which contains all the documents that match the query that we have defined here. So all the documents where the owner property matches with the ID of the currently logged in user will be available to us inside the to-dos array. And that's what we wanted. Finally, I'll go ahead and make a call to the getToDos function inside my constructor. Now as I save the application, we will get all the documents that belong to the current user inside the to-dos array. So now that we have the array ready, we need to write the code inside todos.page.html file to display the contents of this array in a list. So I'll open up the todos.page.html file, and here, as you can see, I only have an ion fab component. So I'll start by adding an ion list here. Inside the ion list, I'll use an ion item sliding component because I want to have slidable items inside this list. And inside ion item sliding, I'll place in the ion item. Inside the ion item, we will have an ion label, and inside the ion label, within an h2 tag, we will display the title of the to-do. Just under that, inside an h3 tag, we will display the description of the to-do, and then within a p tag, we will display the last date of the to-do. So as of now, you can see that I am not passing in any values to the interpolation, and that's because first I need to use an ng-for on this ion item sliding. So I will start by typing in ng-for equals let to-do of to-dos. To-dos here is the array that we have created inside the TS file, and to-do is one of the items of that array. For each item, one ion item sliding will be rendered on the page. Now we can use the to-do object inside this ion item sliding to get the values in our interpolation. So here I'll just go ahead and type in to-do, which is a document object dot data dot title, which will give us the title of the to-do. Similarly, I'll just copy that and paste it inside other interpolations. Let's save that and see if we get anything or not on the page. Also note that when the application refreshes, if you get an error like this, that's probably because you are refreshing the application on the to-do page. However, you should be navigating to the to-do page from the login page. So make sure that you go back to the login page, and then when you arrive at the to-do page, you will get the list just like this. So here you can see that I get the list item. There is just one to-do in my to-dos collection on Firestore, and that's what I'm seeing here. You can see that there is an issue with the date, and that's because of the way Firestore handles timestamp objects. I get the date, but this is in a timestamp object format. We need to display it in a user-friendly way. And to do that, we can use the toDate function, which converts this timestamp object into a JavaScript date object. And to prevent any errors, you need to use an ng-if here. And you need to check if last date is not null. Only in that case, you want to execute the toDate function. Let's save that and see what we get. And there you can see that I get my to-do item and the date is much more readable. If you also feel that this date is still not readable enough, we can write a function real quick to make this date readable for the user. So here, instead of using interpolation, we can use the inner HTML property of this HTML tag and bind it to the value returned by the function that we'll create next. Let's call this function getDate. The getDate function will take in the timestamp object that we get from Cloud Firestore. Now we need to create the getDate function. So I'll go to the TS file, and here, just after the getToDos function, I'll create the getDate function. This receives a timestamp object, which is of the type firebase.firestore.timestamp, and the first thing we'll do is get the date object from the timestamp. So I'll just go ahead and type in let date equals timestamp.toDate. This gives us a JavaScript date object. Next, we can go ahead and type in return date.toLocalDateString, which will return a date string in the local format of the device on which this application is working. And that's what we pretty much want. Let's save this and see how it works. Make sure that you navigate back to the home page of your application. And there you can see that I get the date formatted in a nice and clean manner. So the toLocalDateString function is a function that you can execute on a JavaScript date object, and you get a JavaScript date object using the toDate function on a Firebase timestamp object. So now that we are getting a list of to-dos in our application, let's learn how we can change the status of to-dos and mark them as completed when they are done.